Hi, welcome to the podcast. I am Joe Posnanski, and with me is Michael Shore. Michael, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
You are very welcome. There are a couple of things we have to get to. A little later on, we'll do our Oscar revisit, our Poscar revisit.
Re-POScars is what it's called.
The Re-POScars. Yep, we're going to do those from 1991, 24 years ago. We're going to go all the way back to 1991.
How is 1991 24 years ago? That's wild.
It's wild. It's so wild. But there are two things that I want to sort of touch upon first. And obviously we should talk a little bit of baseball because we got some baseball going. And in fact, this is directly related. I was in Los Angeles this past weekend, saw you, we chatted a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we talked about is that we've talked about this for a long time doing this on the podcast, is talking about baseball statistics and rules that are just delightfully silly.
Yeah.
Just delightfully silly statistical stuff. And I think we should do that. I think we should talk about it. It came up, I believe the way it started was you had talked about how absurd it is that when a pitcher makes an error, that the run that would score on that behalf would be considered an unearned run.
Correct.
Explain this, yeah.
So the whole point of unearned runs versus earned runs is, was it the pitcher's fault, right?
Yes,
Did
sir.
the pitcher give up a hit or a walk or a home run?
Or
And
was it the defense's fault? Yeah.
and if there's an error, then the rule is it's not an earned run. But to my mind, if the pitcher makes the error, if there's a grounder back to the pitcher and the pitcher throws wildly to first and doesn't get the third out and a run scores, that's the pitcher's fault. That should be an earned run. Like, I understand we're splitting hairs here, but if the point, which is a very silly point and a very coarse way to decide this, but if the point is to decide whether or not it was the pitcher's fault, I believe the pitcher's errors should count as earned runs. Now, we've debated this, and I didn't look it up, but if a run scores on a wild pitch, is it an earned run?
It is an earned run on a wild pitch because a wild pitch is not an error.
I would
ball, however,
pass ball counts as an error.
Yes,
and so it is an unearned run. But if it's a wild pitch, why? First of all, why not count that as an error? I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. But also, a wild pitch by definition is the pitcher's fault. That should be an earned run. Are you with me on this?
I am with you, but I'm sort of the whole unearned run. This is what led to our whole unearned run thing, and then we talk about some of these other rules as well. Here's my favorite thing about the unearned run: a pitcher opens the inning, gives up a fly ball that should definitely be caught. The center fielder drops it. It's an error. It's a man on first base. He gets the next two outs, and then somebody hits a home run. Well, both of those runs are unearned,
right?
Because you're saying that fly ball that should have been caught should have ended the inning,
right?
Which means that every single run scored from that point on for eternity, if you score 5,000 runs, they're all unearned. They're all unearned,
right?
However, they are earned to the team. Like, there's a team earned runs thing, which is weird. Also, a new pitcher comes into the game and gives it up. I don't believe that they're like team unearned runs, but I think they're individually the pitcher. It's the wackiest thing in the world.
It is very funny when you see a line for a pitcher that's like 1 2/3 innings,
right,
11 hits, 10 runs, 1 earned run. At some point, you've got to be like, all right, we're going back. You get 3 unearned runs and then everything else is earned. It's you know what I mean?
I think if you give up a home run, there's no possibility that run could be unearned. I don't care how many outs your defense should have gotten you. If you give up a home run, you should have had the third out, and then 3 guys come up and all 3 of them homer off of you. You're telling me you didn't earn those runs? You earned those runs.
I'll tell you something else. If, let's say, starting pitcher, like error made on the what would have been the third out,
Right.
single, double, single walk, whatever, 5 more unearned run score. They bring in a new pitcher. You got to start anew. You got to start like that pitcher gives up a hit, a home run, or whatever. Those have to be earned runs.
Well, those are for him, but they're not for the team.
But not for the team.
It's the weirdest, funniest thing. But of course, baseball's filled with these. That was what really kind of got the conversation started, because baseball's filled with one that you love. You love that you cannot get an RBI on a double play.
This is insane. Okay, there's two things about this that drive me nuts. So let's say first and third, right? Ground ball hit to second. You turn nobody out. Ground ball hits to second. 4-6-3 double play. Run scores. Batter doesn't get an RBI.
Yes.
Why not? Why not? He like, I know it's not great, but like he didn't strike out. He didn't pop out to the infield. He did a thing that resulted. He put the ball in play.
A run being scored.
Run being scored. That's got to be an RBI. I'm sorry. That's just stupid. It's so persnickety and like it's
all
like
of it is.
Yeah, it's so like, nope, sorry, you don't get credit for the RBI. It's just so dumb.
At one point, I called these. I said baseball. I wrote a piece years and years ago called "Judgmental Stats" about all of these different stats that baseball.
So unnecessarily judgmental.
I love the persnickety word. Is there anything more persnickety than you hit a ground ball to shortstop bobbles, throws, you beat the throw, it's an error to the shortstop, and in the books, it's an out.
It's an out.
That is the most. I'm sorry, you are out. Okay, yes, you're on first base, but that is hurting your batting average because you should have been out. That is the most persnickety thing imaginable.
And by the way, lest anyone out there think that we're being unreasonable, I will remind everyone at this point, the definitions of these things have changed so many times.
Oh my God.
Very famously, Ted Williams hits 406 in 1941. Sack flies were counted as outs back then.
Yeah.
And so he really, if he had been judged by the standards of contemporary batting average, he would have actually hit, I can't remember what it is, like 418 or something, right? Yeah. So like we can change these things. It's okay to change them. Just so we're clear. The second thing though about double plays is you can't assume the double play.
You can't assume the double play.
So you hit a ball and the what should be a 4-6-3 double play, there's a little hitch or whatever, and they don't get the guy at first. You can't assume the double play means that run on third would be an RBI, correct? Yes, if they only get one out.
Yeah, that's right.
That doesn't make any sense. Either a double play is no RBI, or it should be in the judgment of the score to say, like, should that have been a double play? And if so, then you shouldn't give that guy the RBI, but you should give him the RBI in both situations. I cannot believe that one of the official scorekeeping rules of baseball is you can't assume the double play. That's bananas.
It's so funny. How about if you steal a base and they don't try to throw you out, you don't get credit for
stolen base. No, it's catcher's indifference.
Yeah.
I will say, when my son was playing youth baseball, I was the official scorekeeper. This will surprise no one who knows me. I was the official scorekeeper of the team. And we use this app called Game Changer, which is a great app. All sports parents know about the Game Changer app. You can follow the action live. It's a really great app. And my son's team for a while, especially like 7U, 8U, 9U, like his travel team was getting just the crap beaten out of it every week. And my tiny little rebellion when they were losing 14-0 or whatever in the third inning is when the other team would steal bases. I would, as the official scorekeeper, rule it as catcher's indifference, so that the official game report didn't say that the other team had 37 stolen bases or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it is. Baseball is so filled with these delightful things. Of course, I think I don't want to get rid of them, even though they're silly and stupid. I mean, not all of them. There are a couple of things they could definitely fix, but it's sort of like what we talked about with the chain gang in football. It's like stop taking the silliness out of these sports. They are silly. Sports are silly.
Yeah.
All right. They can be multi-billion-dollar things. They can be, everybody can have a trillion-dollar gambling thing going on. Sports are by definition silly. We sit around and watch people play games and care about it. That is fundamentally silly. And we should, it drives me insane every single time we try to make it matter more, make it count more, make it more important. To just stop. Just let us enjoy our games.
Fair enough, but also that we should continuously be talking about how silly these things are.
Oh, of course. Well, that's the best part.
So here's the silliest one, and this is what I brought up when we were talking. The silliest one by far.
Yes.
Pop up to the infield. 4 infielders converge. They all stare at each other. The ball falls on the ground 11 feet from home plate. Base hit.
Base hit.
Yeah.
Nobody touched the ball.
And if 2 runners scored on that pop fly, RBIs. Great. Give them RBIs. No, we're not going to give you an RBI if you hit 112 mile an hour grounder that turns into a double play and a run scores. We will give you an RBI if you hit the ball straight up in the air and the defense is so incompetent that they just stare at each other and the ball falls harmlessly in front of the mound. That's insane.
It's so funny.
And also, like, same thing with like a fly ball to the outfield where the guy either loses it in the lights or just whatever, doesn't know how to misses the ball or misjudges it. That's a double or a triple or whatever. Yeah. And I swear to God, I can't prove this. I cannot prove this.
Yeah.
I swear to God, it happens to the Yankees more than to any other team. I swear to God that I look at Jazz Chisholm went 2 for 4 and one of those hits was a fly ball that just dropped between 2 outfielders who were staring at each other. I swear to God, it happens twice a week.
Yeah. I mean, I also look at what point does an error not become an error? Like, isn't it an error to lose a fly ball in the sun? Like, that's an error. I shouldn't have done that. I wish I hadn't done that. Like, the sun doesn't move. I mean, it's in that same spot in the sky. So, yeah, the whole thing. What about, all right, so this is not exactly along those same lines, but it is something that everybody talks about on broadcast, and we've never discussed it here. What is your stance on pitchers never catching pop-ups?
I don't understand why they treat pitchers like they're in bubble wrap. Yeah. Like they're not athletes. Yeah. Like these are professional athletes.
Well, not only the professional athletes, every single one of them was the best player on their high school team, right?
They all hit 580 their senior year in high school. I don't understand that. I've heard the reasoning for it is that they're coming down off of a slight elevation.
The angle is not great.
The angle isn't great. It's the same reason you want the first or third baseman to be catching that ball instead of the catcher. If it's a foul pop up or whatever. I mean, look, I don't know. It feels like the pitchers are athletes and their instinct when there's a pop up is to go catch the pop up. Yeah. And they haven't driven that instinct out of those guys. And so it causes problems all the time.
Absolutely.
And I will say, so we went to a Dodger game together, and at some point there was a foul ball hit off between home plate and third. And it was one of those foul balls that had so much backspin on it. It would look like it was heading over the net and then like a Frisbee almost.
Oh, it just
curled and came back toward and it was Kike Hernandez, I think, was the one who caught it in an incredibly athletic play.
Yeah, incredible play.
And so I don't think it's nonsensical. I think that the angle does matter, that the first baseman or third baseman has a better read on those balls than the catcher who is directly underneath them at the moment that they fly up in the air. And I suppose the same would be true for a pitcher. And also just pitchers spend less of their time practicing catching pop-ups than the infielders do. So I think there's some reasoning to it. I just think it's funny that pitchers are treated like they're Fabergé eggs whenever there's a play in the infield. It's like, protect him. He can't participate in this.
And what's funny about that is nobody is in more danger of getting hit with a line drive than a pitcher. I mean, you better be able to like defend yourself out there when you're 55 feet away from home plate when the guy hits 150-mile-an-hour fastball right
Yeah.
up the middle, right? But I think look, I think it's right that it is one of those things that looks silly but does make sense. However, watching pitchers run away from fly balls is also very funny.
It's very funny.
It's just
It's
like,
a professional
I can't get anywhere near that.
professional athletes just fleeing in terror from from the thing that they're participating in.
That leads to the second thing. You mentioned we went to a Dodger game. I wrote about this in my newsletter over at joeposnanski.com, but it's worth us discussing because we felt it at the same time. The Cubs were leading the Dodgers in the ninth inning of the game that we were watching, and Pete Crow Armstrong, who might be the fastest human being on earth, we saw him. By the way, man, is he crushing the ball? What
Yeah.
is going on?
Good
Holy
job, Pete.
cow.
Way to go, Pete.
We love PCA. So Pete Crow Armstrong led off the inning with a triple, and that brought up two not necessarily of the best hitters on the Cubs. And the infield was sort of in, but it wasn't completely in, and the first baseman was way off the bag, like almost halfway to second base, way off the bag. And you and I both had this same very old man thought, which is, why can't the kids bunt today? Why can't the kids bunt? But would you not agree that it was one of the most striking things you could see at a baseball game? Like how obvious it was to just punch the ball anywhere to the right side.
It was like it was a classic situation where it was like, if you just put the ball into play anywhere on the right side,
anywhere,
you will knock in that run. Like anywhere. It was an acre and a half of space.
It was incredible.
It was wild. Yeah.
And you have one of the fastest runners in baseball on third base. There's no chance, zero chance that he doesn't score.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, and they were up 2. So like that run really mattered. I mean, you didn't need a big inning there. You really needed that run to come across. Both those guys struck out. What happened, which we were complaining about it before they struck out. But it really does strike me. What I wrote in my piece is that it doesn't really matter what your background is. It doesn't really matter what your sort of like how much you love advanced stats or how much how progressive you think you are in your thinking. Sooner or later, we're just old men complaining that the kids can't bunt.
It's going to happen to everyone.
There's no way around it. So anyway, those were the two things I wanted to
I was happy though that you and I both officially entered our grouchy old man baseball.
It's about time.
Phase.
I mean, I'm glad to be there. Actually,
it's a relief almost to know that it finally happened.
All right. Before we get to our Re-POScars, do you want to talk a little ball? Do you want to talk a little NBA? I know the NBA has you excited.
The NBA has me very excited.
Yes.
Last podcast, I said that if that everyone should be on the lookout for the Chicago Bulls.
You did.
It's the Chicago Bulls were frisky. They're a frisky team, and I thought they had a chance to really make some noise. And I just want to say,
yes,
that if they hadn't lost the 9-10 game by 25 points, I think I was essentially right. Basically, like they granted they lost their play-in game by 25 points to the Heat.
Yeah.
That notwithstanding,
yes,
I would still keep an eye on.
Look,
on them.
I think it's a fair thing.
No, it was 19 points. I'm sorry. It was
19. Yeah,
109 to 90.
It could have been 29 points. Like at no point they were in that game.
Yeah, I mean they
were out of it in the first quarter in that game.
Tyler Hero didn't miss a shot for the first half. He was 8 of 8 in the first half and 3 of 3 from 3. And it was, if you look at the game flow chart, there is an immediate wide gap between the two lines that remains wide for the entirety of the game. It was not like, they had a legitimate chance. They were.
And that was in Chicago.
I was in Chicago. I'm actually happy in some ways that there's a team right now that is in its darker moments fretting and worrying about the Miami Heat, and it's not the Celtics. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers.
It is my Cavs. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, and I'm
They
not.
and I so we're recording this on Friday. The Heat play in Atlanta at 4 p.m. today, West Coast time, and Dallas is in Memphis in the late game. I think there's every chance in the world that the Hawks could win that game, and then it
Yeah, they
wouldn't
could.
matter.
They absolutely could.
But if the Heat win the game, it's just very funny because I'll tell you, you know who the Cleveland Cavaliers do not care about for 1 second is the Atlanta Hawks.
Right.
You know who they can't help but care about a little tiny bit? The Miami Heat, because the
Yeah,
Miami Heat are the most annoying team in the NBA and have been for
that's right.
decades. And they have a recent history
Yeah.
of doing things that they're simply not supposed to be able to do in the playoffs. They of just annoying teams playing above their heads. Eric Spoelstra brings in some guy you've literally never heard of, and that guy has 17 points in the first half. And
Yep.
because of some crazy matchup-y thing that only Eric Spoelstra can figure out. And if the Heat play the Cavs will win. I would say it'll be 5 games. There's a small chance it could be 6. There is no way on earth the Miami Heat defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. It cannot happen. The Cavs are so good and so deep and so much better than the Heat. There is not a chance in hell the Heat could actually win.
You mean
But
the Hawks?
the Hawks, yeah.
Oh,
No, I'm saying that there's no way the Heat could beat the Cavs.
Oh, could beat the Cavs?
Yes.
But they can make it so annoying.
But there will be a tiny little nagging voice in the back of Donovan Mitchell's head and Evan Mobley's head and Darius Garland's head that's like, oh, God damn it. I
Why
just don't want to have to play those guys. And it's just so wonderful that the way that it broke out, that little tiny nagging feeling will not be in the heads of the Boston Celtics. I'm relieved about that.
That's my Cleveland team. The other one that would say for the NBA is that, every time reporters always ask, like, oh, do you have any preference who you play, kind of thing, and the players always like, it doesn't matter, we just want to play whoever's in front of us. I believe that there will be some OKC players watching that game tonight desperately rooting that they do not have to play Memphis in the first round.
I think you're right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look, Dallas is no threat. I mean, at this point, that is a broken franchise. So I don't think they're a threat. And you play Memphis and you'll come out. They'll win. They'll beat Memphis, but they will come out bruised and battered and
I mean, I will say that without Ja Morant, it's a lot easier to defend the Memphis Grizzlies. They're not worried. They're
not worried.
The smart money is on OKC absolutely blitzing and torching whoever they play.
Sure.
But yeah, I think you don't want to. The teams physically you don't want to have to play are Memphis and Houston. Like right. I think congratulations Golden State Warriors on securing the 7 seed. Go play a team of like 15 of the best athletes who have ever walked the earth, all of whom, by the way, are like 22 years old and can run forever without getting tired. And by the way, who have a guy in Amen Thompson who played Steph Curry 2 weeks ago in a game and made Steph. It was the first time, I really believe this is true, the very first time in his career that Steph Curry looked old. He looked old because Amen Thompson absolutely smothered him and wasn't breaking a sweat. Like he wasn't like heaving on the sidelines and doubled over from having to chase the greatest shooter who's ever lived around the court for 48 minutes. He was like, yeah, I can do this literally all day. And I think that I mean, look, I believe Steve Kerr is the best coach in the game.
Yep.
He has done some incredible scheming in his life. He has in Draymond Green probably the highest IQ basketball player maybe who's ever lived.
Yeah.
And now he's got Jimmy Butler, who's top 10 all-time high IQ, and then he's got Stephen Curry, who's the greatest shooter
ever lived.
Without question, without anyone. There's not a single person on earth who doesn't say that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter who's ever lived, and also obviously an incredibly high IQ basketball player. So like, I don't think it's impossible that Golden State causes problems for Houston. I think they cause problems for anybody, frankly. But Houston has wave after wave after tsunami after tsunami of the most athletic freaks you have ever seen in your life. And it's for people who haven't watched Houston this year, I encourage you, watch that series and watch these guys on Houston run around with the Warriors and watch how old Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry look. And again, they're crafty dudes, and Draymond's gonna do his thing, and he's gonna get in Dylan Brooks's head, and he's gonna the Houston's gonna have 11 technical fouls by the time the second game is over. They will have 4 guys will have been ejected. Ime Udoka will be suspended. They run so hot, that team, that like there's a chance that the KG Wiley veteran team actually makes hay of this and somehow figures out a way to stretch it to 6 or 7. But Houston is a insane collection of athletic talent, and there's a lot of really good matchups. Like, I'm very, very excited for these playoffs. This has been
I was just about to say, when you talk about some of these matchups, I mean, look, that Lakers Timberwolves matchup.
Oh,
fantastic.
Oh, and by the way, as good as Lakers Timberwolves is, besides the obvious Luka storyline and the obvious like LeBron rejuvenated by having a top 5 player on his team storyline, and the fact that it's I don't want to get into it, and the fact that like JJ Redick, it turns out, is a great coach. There's like the jury is now in, the verdict has been rendered. JJ Redick is a great coach. Their defensive improvement in the second half of the year, there was a big piece on it, and I want to say it was in The Athletic. I could be wrong, but there's a big piece about how like JJ Redick was just like, we don't have their defense was straight up bad for the first half of the year. LeBron is 40 years old, and playing defense takes a lot out of you. Luka's not a good defender. Austin Reeves is not a good defender. They don't have a center except for Jackson Hayes, who's not a starting center caliber guy in the NBA.
Right.
They have revamped their offense so that they've basically forced the other team into they'll allow the other team to take open shots. They just ensure that the guys taking them are the less good shooters. It's like a fascinating thing where it seems like such a simple thing to do, but it's not. It's very hard, and it requires LeBron to basically be running the defense vocally constantly. So he sees guys switch on to other guys and barks at them and calls them off. And it's not just the like, we're daring you to shoot thing. They manipulate the other team's offense to get to the point where the guy taking the shot is the guy the Lakers want taking the shot.
Yeah.
And it's not fluky. It's a real defense that they have instituted. And for the second half of the season, they've been a top defense in the league. They're going up against Anthony Edwards, who has more. Let me ask you this. A lot has been made of the search over the last 30 or so years for cold fusion, right?
Yes.
Cold fusion, the promise of cold fusion is it powers the world and does not have any, it releases no exhaust. It releases nothing radioactive or toxic to the air. Cold fusion would solve all the world's energy problems and reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and all that sort of stuff. It is, in theory, the answer to everything that ails us as a society.
Yes.
I think we're looking in the wrong place, because I think what we need to do is somehow investigate Anthony Edwards' confidence. And if we could somehow convert his confidence into an energy source, it could power the world and forever. Like I've never seen a more confident human being in any discipline in my life. And I work in an industry where there's a lot of confidence.
There's a lot of confidence.
A lot of irrational confidence, a lot of unearned confidence. I believe Anthony Edwards is the single most confident human being who's ever walked the earth. So you have a Timberwolves team that made the Western Conference Finals last year, came within shouting distance of making the finals, who have been playing great basketball for the second half of the year, who are long and athletic and fast and rangy. They don't have a ton of shooting, and Rudy Gobert is still like a question about what his role is in the playoffs, and teams have played him off the court. but they also have the most confident player who's ever lived, who believes the old adage is you bet on the team that has the best player, right? In the playoffs, like who's the best player on the floor? That's the team that you bet on.
Yeah.
He believes he's the best player on the
He
floor.
believes he's the best player on the floor.
Yeah. Even going up against Luka and LeBron, Anthony Edwards, if you asked him, would say, without question, I am the best player in this series.
You cannot put him on a floor with anybody who he would not believe
No.
he is the best player on the floor, for sure.
It's really something. And that series promises great things. The Rockets Warriors is fascinating. Nuggets Clippers. Don't sleep on Nuggets Clippers.
Yeah.
Because the Clippers are for real. Right. Kawhi is playing, which is always been the thing with them. Like, does that guy play or not? He's been playing, and he's been playing a lot of minutes, and he seems healthy. The Nuggets fired their coach 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But Jokic is the best player in the NBA, and Jamal Murray has played much better in the second half than he did the first half. And but Ivica Zubac might be the defensive player of the year, is probably the most improved player in the NBA, even though he was already pretty good. Harden is like a borderline all-NBA guy. Like Kawhi is playing like this. That series, that to me is a 7-game series, and it's going to be incredibly fast. Every single series, except for the 1-8 matchup, where the Thunder will roll, every single other series in the West is fantastic.
Really
yeah,
I agree. Super interesting. All right, who are the 5 most confident players in any sport in our lifetime?
Great question. Okay, Anthony Edwards is certainly one of them.
Yeah, you've definitely got Anthony Edwards in there. All right, so I mean, this is any sport. So I mean, it's not really. I mean, it is in your lifetime. It's sort of at the very, very beginning of my lifetime. But does Ali just have to go on there?
I mean, I am the greatest is like the motto for all of these guys. So yeah. He goes in there.
So Ali goes on there, right? So it's the Muhammad Ali list, actually.
Yeah.
Most confident players of our lifetime.
Who's the most confident baseball player who comes to mind? Who leaps to? Is it Nolan Ryan in a sort of quiet way or something?
I was thinking like it could be Nolan Ryan. Like here's how I would define confidence. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, you know who is very incredibly, absurdly, and almost irrationally confident was Greg Maddux, right?
Yeah.
Like Greg Maddux, there was never a moment that Greg Maddux did not feel like he was in control.
Right.
I mean, until the end of his career, when he actually was too smart to realize that to like ignore what was happening. So like that's a kind of confidence that is, but I think it's got to be Bonds, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
Bonds.
it feels to me like it's either a flame throwing. It's like a Rob Dibble or something, or it feels like it's got to be a home. It's a home run hitter, right? It's like
it's a home run hitter, or it's a they've not seen my heat pitcher, right? A pitcher who believes that all he has to do is throw harder, and like Dibble is a great version.
Randy Johnson.
I've thought about Randy Johnson, but I think Randy Johnson's kind of first of all, ever since his career ended, it turns out that he is like a man of layers. Like he's just
fascinating.
He's delightful. He's hilarious. He's like into like all of these.
A professional and highly regarded sports photographer,
as apparently as Ken Griffey Jr.
Jr.
So I think he was almost. I'm sure he was very confident, but like he did not. I don't think you looked at like. In a lot of ways, in some ways, Schilling was even more confident than he was, right? Like,
Schilling saying there's
I'm gonna stick it to these.
Schilling saying there's nothing more, there's nothing I dream more of, or whatever he said, than making 55,000 people in New York shut up. Was pretty bold before he had done really anything for the Red Sox. Like he had obviously won. He, his last moment in the 01 World Series was being taken out of the game after giving up a 2-run homer to Alfonso Soriano.
Yeah.
Soriano, right? I think hit it. So it was pretty bold of him to say that. I think there's also an argument to be made that the most confident person is not actually the best player. Like Jazz Chisholm has more confidence than anyone hitting 178 should have in baseball, but it doesn't appear to affect him. Like it feels like, I mean, I guess there's also maybe delineate between confidence and brashness or something,
Yeah,
right?
well, there's a confidence category where you have to be a great player, and then there's the irrational confidence category, which is like a separate thing, which is also a very, very funny thing. Are those people that are just, you cannot convince them that they're not all-time greats,
Right.
right?
There's the
You cannot
Steph
convince-
Curry confidence of giving the night motion after he rips out the soul of another team in the
Well,
playoffs.
and but Steph Curry. I mean, the answer could be Steph Curry in the sense of nobody's ever shot a ball and been more confident that it was going to go in,
Right.
right? Like it's utterly impossible. I'll tell you who is unbelievably confident. Maybe, I mean, certainly in this class, Tiger
Yeah.
Woods.
Yes.
That's the purest.
Tiger is the Muhammad Ali of golf
our
without
time.
question. Yeah.
Yeah,
Tiger goes up there. I would say I would also potentially put, let's see. So Tiger, Muhammad Ali,
yeah,
Anthony Edwards,
right.
maybe Steph,
I mean, Barry is a good
and
one.
Barry. That's a pretty good starting
That's a pretty
five.
good, but I mean, then we're missing football, and football's confidence, like no sport has more like psychotically confident people.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like Tyreek Hill feels pretty confident.
Well, what about what's his name? The why am I losing his name? The quarterback who's like, we want the
Oh,
ball.
Matt Hasselbeck. We're gonna take the ball and we're gonna win. Yeah. Allen Iverson might go on this list.
Allen Iverson's really look. I mean, Tom Brady, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, like that is pure. I mean, and that's kind of a. I mean, we have differing views of Tom Brady, obviously here, but
How so?
it just you seem to think he's awesome, and I seem to think the opposite. But I will say that the confidence that he had as a 6th-round pick, who like believed without question in his mind. That's why I always said that one of the all-time great stories is not just Kurt Warner becoming a great player, but that Kurt Warner didn't quit football. Right?
Yeah.
And the guy was stocking groceries at a Hy-Vee, and in his mind he's still like, no,
I can play in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, Brady saying to Robert Kraft, I'm the best decision this organization has ever made, and then being right, like that's insane. That's insane.
That's
like,
a high level.
A lot of guys have probably said stuff like that or thought stuff like that, and then just
not
watched out
necessarily
of the
to
league.
the owner. Not many of them would have said it directly to the owner. So
what's interesting about Ant, just to get back to this though, is that Ant is not the best player in the NBA.
He's not going to be the best player on the floor.
Ali was the best boxer. Brady was the best quarterback.
Right.
Steph is the best 3-point shooter. Tiger was the best golfer. Right. Yeah. Ant is not. There's not a single person on earth who would say Ant is the best player in the league. It's just that he believes he is.
Yes.
To such a thorough degree that, you know, his idol very famously is Kevin Durant. He worships Durant. Durant's his guy. When he plays against Durant, he talks crap to Durant through the whole game. He never stops chirping. He chirps at him. He like tries to dunk over him. He tries to get into his head. He like yells at him during timeouts. Like, that is the love language that Anthony Edwards has for the rest of the world, is taunting and boasting, which is that's what there's a slight difference in my mind between the kind of confidence I'm talking about with him and the kind of confidence that comes from being Tiger Woods or Muhammad Ali. It's it's a guy who's like, a top 10, without question, a top 10 player.
Right. He's one of the best players.
One of the best players, without first team all NBA, I would say, or second team this year, maybe, but like just has the feeling, it's the yelling, you can't guard me at people who can totally guard him, but it's so wild.
So is Larry Bird's confidence
those
lines, or was Larry Bird so good that
no, he's the other guy who, I mean, obviously three straight MVPs, three rings in 5 years, whatever it was. It's not like, I mean, that's it. Ant hasn't won anything, right? Ant has gotten to the Western Finals once. Now, granted, he's 24, 20, whatever he is, but Bird had the same thing even before he had won anything. He had that same like not irrational. It was a rational confidence. It was unearned until it was earned. I dare say we will unlock heretofore unseen levels of confidence should Ant ever win a title. I don't know what would happen. I can't even postulate what that would look like if he actually won a ring.
I actually think that we should frame this argument, frame this entire conversation, not an argument, this conversation around this idea. Obviously, maybe other than Ali, who's like in his own category, maybe the most famous moment of confidence in sports recent history is Larry Bird walking into the locker room before the 3-point shootout and said, "Who's playing for second?" Right?
Which one you guys gonna take second? Yeah,
right. So I think that every question that we ask is, is that brash? Like who would like Anthony Edwards? There's no question would do that.
100%.
No question about it. And not only it wouldn't have to be a 3-point shooting contest; it could be any contest.
Yeah,
any single contest. It would be like who's playing for second.
Yeah.
Tom Brady would do that.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Brady would totally do that.
Yeah. You know who has some of this is Jimmy Butler, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Jimmy when Jimmy Butler left the floor after defeating the 76ers, I can't remember if it was a playoff game or just a regular season game. And as the cameras were on him, he started saying, "You chose Tobias Harris over me? You chose Tobias Harris over me," like yelling at the camera, because that was famously why the Sixers let him go. Like that, I think there is we're talking about a character trait that is like in the moments where you need to demonstrate your ability, you not only never fail, you succeed more greatly and more completely than anyone thought you could.
Yes.
That's what it really is about, right? It's like you step up to you demonstrate your prowess, and when the lights are brightest, you demonstrate that your confidence is actually based on your ability.
Yeah.
And you never, ever, ever fail. You just never fail because you won't allow yourself to fail. Like that's the Brady thing. That's the Ant thing. That's the Ali thing.
It's a Tiger thing. That's you and I were talking about that. We watched the final round of the Masters together at Dodger Stadium.
Yep.
And we were just, first of all, it was wonderful the way it ended. It was wonderful for Rory. It was, both of us were very happy. But Rory twice, at least multiple times, blew it.
Yeah.
As almost any human golfer will. And we were just remarking that, look, Tiger didn't win every tournament, but every tournament he could win, he won.
Yep.
Every putt he had to make, he made.
Yeah.
Every one. I mean, going back to his amateur days, there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
That's confidence. And golf is a sport of confidence. Everything about golf.
There's nothing like stroking a putt, and when it's halfway to the hole, running after it, pointing to it with your finger. Like that's the exact equivalent of Bird launching the final 3-pointer and lifting his arm up in the air before it. Yeah. Yeah.
So great.
Wild.
It's so great. All right, let's go to our Re-POScars. We're going back. We're going into the time machine, going all the way back 24 years to 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you which movies won the Oscars, which movies and people won the Oscars that year.
Okay.
1991. By the way, having gone through 1991, it is. I am shocked at how many movies I had very, very, very strong opinions about.
Really? I felt differently.
Oh, interesting.
I thought this was kind of a bad year for movies.
I'm not saying it was a good year necessarily. I don't know that there's a truly, truly, truly great movie. I think there's one maybe truly, truly great movie, but I just had very some of my worst movie experiences from 1991. I just had very strong feelings about 1991. But here are the winners from there. For best movie, best picture was Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
In fact, they swept everything essentially because best actor was Anthony Hopkins from Silence of the Lambs. Best actress was Jodie Foster from Silence of the Lambs. Best director was Jonathan Demme from Silence of the Lambs. And then very unusual supporting cast, which I thought was very fun. Jack Palance won Best Supporting Actor for City Slickers, which
Sure.
is very, very fun and
Why
funny.
not?
Well, sure. Well, sure. Why not? And that, of course, led to, well, we don't want to give away too much about our 1992 Re-POScars, but wasn't it pretty famously Jack Palance who gave out the supporting actress award the next year, and everybody thinks he blew it? Isn't
Yep,
that how it is?
it is indeed.
We'll talk about that in '92. And best supporting actress was Mercedes Rule from the much forgotten Fisher King,
Mm-hmm.
which actually was, I think, pretty good. I actually think Fisher King,
Fisher King's
if
a
my
good movie.
memory's right, yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was a pretty good movie. So there we go. So that's what won, and so let's talk a little bit about some of the movies from that year. What stands out to you first?
My favorite movie of this year, in like a runaway, like not even there's no close second, is Barton
Oh,
Fink.
oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
I think
Wow.
Barton Fink is, I think, the best movie ever made about being a writer.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of biased, but I truly love this movie. I think it's like an all timer. I've watched
Yeah.
it many times. It's of course because it's early Coen Brothers, but
Yes, ma'am.
to me it's the movie where like they really figured out their whole thing.
Yeah.
They had other Blood Simple, I think, came before it, and there's a couple other
Blood
movies.
Simple. They actually three, because I think Raising Arizona came
Raising
before,
Arizona,
and
which is
and,
a very farcical and stuff. But
and the gangster one came before.
I think
The
Barton Fink is where they really were like, this is where we live. This is the
Yeah.
subject matter. This is the way that we shoot, the themes, the frames, the pace, all that sort of stuff. It is a truly beautiful movie. I think it's like
it is a beautiful movie. It is also it's an emotional punch to the
yeah,
stomach. I mean, it really is. You're not walking away from Barton Fink feeling good about the world or anything.
no,
It's not an optimistic movie. It's great, and I think unquestionably John Goodman should have won for supporting actor.
I think Turturro should have won for lead
Or
actor. I think they should
right?
have won for directing. I think Goodman should have won for supporting. I think Judy Davis should have won for supporting actress. Like
Yes, yes,
everybody in this movie is so great.
yes.
And the what it says about like integrity and art and the creation of art and the compromises that people make and how easily people are corrupted by money and
Oh
fame and
yeah,
celebrity and all that sort of stuff.
wrestling.
um it's just an absolute all-timer of a
Oh, and
movie.
the box is just an all-time image,
Yeah,
right? I mean, just it is something. It is an incredible movie. It would not have been my favorite. It's not my favorite movie of the year. I think it's great. My favorite movie of the year is really truly cliche, but should have. It was the best movie that came out that year, I think, and has had the biggest impact of any movie, certainly that was that year, and that's Beauty and the Beast. I just don't think they're a movie. I mean, it changed Disney. It
yeah,
completely and utterly changed Disney. I think it's great. I think it is truly a great movie. I've seen it more times than I probably have seen any other movie, I would imagine, just because I saw it 5,000 times with our daughters growing
sure.
up. And it is great. It is actually a great movie. It is incredibly well done. It is well written. The opening sequence of Beauty and the Beast, which I guess is um, who is the voice that does that? It's
Oh, I have no idea.
oh yeah, no, I think I can't think of his name. David Ogden Stiers, maybe.
Sure.
I think uh, all of it's fantastic. It is a beautifully put together movie, and it is uh, it is the one that is held up the
It is
best.
a classic, no question. It's a classic. It has certainly stayed in the zeitgeist
Yeah, and
in a
everything that
way.
came after it
Yep.
is like I said, it just rebuilt. I mean, I guess at that point already the Little Mermaid had already come out, but I mean, it changed. It just changed the whole structure of what you could do with an animated movie. So I think it was great, and it was actually nominated that year.
Yeah.
Um, So there are a few movies that I want to just talk about and sort of get your take on as we try to fill out the rest of the categories, because I think this is great. Um, what is your overall take? Oh, before we do that, let me throw out one very small movie from that year that I think is utterly fantastic, and that's Truly Madly Deeply. Have you seen Truly Madly
I
Deeply?
saw it like a million years ago and
Yeah,
forget
yeah.
everything about it. But yes,
It,
I remember liking
it
it.
is it is utterly wonderful. Alan Rickman definitely could have been an Oscar winner. We've already given Alan Rickman a Re-POScar for supporting actor in Die Hard,
Right.
but he was utterly fantastic. So was Juliette Stevenson. They were both amazing in that movie.
Can
And
we
I reference that movie. Nobody's seen it, forever, but I reference that movie all the time. It is of all of like the ghost movies that sort of came out, like I think that one is really, really strong.
can we talk about Silence of the Lambs?
Yes, please. Let's talk
How
about
do
it.
you feel about Silence of the Lambs?
I have not seen Silence of the Lambs since I saw it the first time.
Okay.
That was enough for me. I don't think I would like it again if I saw it again. I
Yeah.
I remember feeling overwhelmed by how well made it was and how good it was. I at the time, but it wasn't an enjoyable experience for me.
Super well made.
Yes,
Obviously Anthony Hopkins giving like a sort of like all-time classic creepy dude
right,
performance.
sure,
A couple things about Silence of the Lambs that I can't get over.
okay,
One is he bites off a dude's face and then puts it over his face
that's
so
right.
that he can escape. I don't think skin works that way. Like I don't think you just it's not like a Mission Impossible mask
It,
where
it 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 didn't make him look like that person at
no,
all. No,
no, it didn't.
no,
And that's one thing. And look, and by the way, I haven't seen it in 30 years.
yeah,
I'm
no,
like my memory is fuzzy. So please don't write in with like actually this is what happened because I don't really care. But the other thing is that he gives Agent Starling a bunch of like riddles,
yeah,
like he says at one point, he says something like, you need to talk to Lewis Friend or something. You go talk to Lewis Friend about this. And then she comes back and she's like, ha ha, Lewis Friend is an anagram for iron
right,
sulfide, which is fool's gold, which means this whole thing was a riddle that didn't lead anywhere.
right.
Right. And I remember just being like, well, what was the point? What, she's just back where she was before. Like he was just, I guess it's the point is he's like messing with her or he's
Yeah,
like testing her or whatever. But I was like, all right, it was an anagram of a thing that meant a thing that is made up. And then you're back where you started. But it was, I didn't find that like it's supposed to be, I guess, that he's like this brilliant genius who's like
right.
blah blah blah. I was left kind of like cold from it. It was like a clue that doesn't really.
It's so funny because I had not thought about this since I saw the movie. I loved that part because it reminded me so much of a 1960s Batman episode. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like this like totally unearned like yes, well what the Riddler really means by that, Robin, is whatever, and like figuring it out, and the way she figured it out, like that was like like it the whole thing was very silly in my mind and funny at the time, I thought.
There's a thing in the also, by the way, I'm just looking on IMDb right now. There's something that says after Starling figures out Lecter was using an anagram when he was asked Buffalo Bill's real name, she refers to iron sulfide as fool's gold. The correct compound is iron pyrite. Also, iron pyrite is a type of sulfide, but the terms are not interchangeable. So it didn't even hold up. But there,
Well,
I guess,
also that means that the writer did not actually come up with a real anagram that even made sense.
right.
So I think that's correct.
there's a type of like diabolical serial killery murdery thing that these movies use a lot. It's like a trope, right? And I remember one of them is in Seven, where at one point well, I think it's after Kevin Spacey turns himself in. They're like, this guy's diabolical. He's insane. He's like, he doesn't miss any details. And one of the examples they use is he had burned off his fingertips
Right.
so that he didn't leave any fingerprints, and that's used as an example of like, this is the depths to which this guy has gone to like hide his identity. And I just remember at the time being like, I mean, okay, like he could also have just worn gloves,
Put on
like,
some gloves. Put on some
yeah,
gloves.
and it's just it's like a sort of noir-y trope that
Yeah.
these guys are like these kind of trickster riddlers
Right.
who like go to these insane lengths in order to do blah 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 blah, but they always fall a little flat for me. It's always a little
Yeah.
bit like, all right, I guess that means he's like a brilliant genius or whatever, but I feel like there's like easier ways to not leave fingerprints.
Yeah, I was gonna say often these things that leave us thinking these people are geniuses do not hold up at all.
Yeah.
By the way, there is another movie from 1991 that has to be in the quest. We both have said that our movies are well above every other, but that's actually not true because there's another fantastic, incredible movie that came out that year that got no recognition, and that's Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
Boys in the Hood is
Easy
utterly fantastic.
easy nominee for Best Picture.
Absolutely.
Nominee for like 50 other things. Like
Yeah.
when you're talking about, part of the purpose of re-examining these movies from 24 years ago is
Right.
to say like what has mattered, right?
Yeah.
What still matters.
Yeah.
I don't know that maybe Beauty and the Beast, you could argue, matters more than Boys in the Hood, but it's close. And I feel
It's
like
very close.
I think
And it's different in a totally different way, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a completely different way. Yeah, Boys in the Hood is still matters, and it made stars out of a bunch of people, and it is a great picture, like in every way. Like it should have been nominated because even in the most obvious ways, it was a great picture. It wasn't like, oh, you need the rest of the world to catch up and figure out why this was great. It was at the time, it was a great, great movie.
Yeah. And it's also like it's where the world met like most of these people, right? It's where like
Yeah.
Ice Cube was a hip hop star, but suddenly it was like, oh, that's an incredible acting performance that he's
Right.
giving. Also, I think it's where we met Lawrence Fishburne, or most of us did. I think it's where we met Cuba Gooding Jr., or most of us did. I think it's where
Yeah.
we met Angela Bassett, or most of us did. Like
Absolutely.
and I think is it John Singleton's first movie?
It's John Singleton's first movie, and like, didn't he make part of it in college? Like there's a whole incredible story about that movie and how it came out.
I mean, that's insane. That's insane to come out of the blocks by making that movie.
Well, that's the thing that was so great about it. I actually took a film class where we studied that movie frame by frame. Like,
Oh, really?
Watched, like, at the beginning, like there's a big stop sign at the start of the movie, and like the sort of all the imagery and all that. I mean, it's a brilliant, brilliant piece of work.
Yeah, I would say the other nominees for Best Picture,
Yeah,
from this year, I would put Cape Fear in there. I think Cape Fear is a great movie.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm not in love with Cape Fear. I'm really not.
I think it's
thought of De Niro as a cartoon character.
It's very cartoony, but it is, in terms of longevity, it is memorable. You remember
It is memorable, and it's scary. It's legitimately scary.
Legitimately
yeah.
scary, and you remember him saying "counselor" in that voice.
Come out wherever you are.
And you also definitely remember him laughing in the movie theater.
Oh God, yeah.
I would also throw Point Break in as something that should be considered.
Just because of the way that really has held up. I was thinking about with Point Break, like Point Break should not be famous enough to have been a prominent like joke in Avengers, but it is. Like it's an actual Avengers joke in is Point Break, and Point Break is actually pretty good.
It's pretty good. The Nixon, all of the masks and the sort of thrill seeking, like extreme sports, like robbery gang is fun. The ending is cool, where he just lets him go off and surf his way into his own death. Is cool. It's a silly movie, but I mean, it has held up. Like, people care about that movie.
I agree.
The last,
we haven't talked about Thelma and Louise. I mean, that obviously is.
Thelma and Louise is a Best Picture nominee for sure,
and both of them have to be nominated.
We literally we're working on we're about to start shooting season 2 of Man on the Inside for Netflix. Very exciting. And we literally wrote a Thelma and Louise reference joke into the script, into one of the scripts like 2 days ago. Like it still is a
Wow.
thing that
It still
people,
matters, yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
The
Now, I thought you had said, I am I misremembering that in the 1990 Re-POScars that you had La Femme Nikita is
I'm
among you, because
very well
they're,
may have, yeah.
yeah, because I think it's a 1991 movie, and I know that's a favorite of yours,
Oh,
or at least in America, it came out in
oh,
1991.
maybe. La
I
Femme
think.
Nikita is great.
Yes,
I don't remember now. I literally don't remember whether I said it should be Best Picture, but I love that movie. And it's been remade like a million times, so maybe it was either delayed release in America or of the French version or whatever.
There are other movies that I think are interestingly good, but I want to talk about three movies that were literally three of the worst movie experiences of my life.
Great.
Just as a fan, just as going to the theater and thinking, worst case scenario, I'm going to come out of this going, okay, that wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but it was a perfectly be reasonable way to spend the last 2 hours or whatever.
Okay.
And I felt that way about none of these three movies. The first one is Hudson Hawk, which is just kind of famously now terrible.
Famous bomb. Yep.
At the time, it did not feel like it. Like it didn't feel like it could be terrible, but it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is Robin Hood.
Sure.
The delightfully accented Kevin Costner movie, right? Where they just
probably worst accent ever employed by the star of a movie, right?
Right, because they didn't even try. At some point, they just gave up.
Yeah, it's like Jack Nicholson in The Departed, where it's like he tries Boston for like 2 lines, and it's like, yeah, never mind, I'm just gonna be Jack Nicholson,
which is actually very funny. That one is great because to me, it's not like Kevin Costner hasn't tried accents in other movies. He has. I mean, obviously in that Boston accent he did in
10 days and 13 days. I was about to say that's actually not a bad Boston accent that he does.
It wasn't bad, right?
Yeah.
It was, and they didn't. And British is supposed to be sort of that's the go-to. Like anybody can do any actor can do a British accent.
In the annals of Boston accents in movies, it's better than Martin Sheen's in The Departed. It's certainly better than Nicholson's. It's roughly what I think Leo's was in The Departed, which was not amazing, but passable.
Passable. Well, look, for Costner, that's high end.
Yeah.
Who has had the best British? Boston accent other than Boston actors?
Well, that's the thing. It's always Affleck and Damon and Casey Affleck and Mark Wahlberg because it's just the guys who really grew up there.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. Baldwin's isn't very good. It's also annoying in The Departed that they think that everybody has the same Boston accent. Like there's people who grew up in Massachusetts who don't speak in the like Southie or like Charleston accent.
They're not all Bill Burr, right? Like they don't have to all be that. Who has had the best JFK accent? Pure JFK.
Whoever does the Mayor Quimby voice in The Simpsons, by far. Probably Azaria, right?
Neither of those was the worst movie of my worst movie experience, though. I mean, as much as I disliked Hudson Hawk and as much as I disliked Robin Hood, the single most disappointing movie I think I've ever seen. You know what? You know about my movie expectation experience.
Yes.
Which is I believe that every movie should be rated based on a plus-minus scale to what your expectation is.
Right.
So if you go in expecting a 3-star movie and you see a 2-star movie, it's a -1.
Okay.
If you go in expecting to see a 1-star movie and it's a 4-star movie, it's legendary. It's a +3. That's
legendary. Yeah.
I think that purely based on my scale, Hook is the worst movie ever made.
The expectations for Hook were off the charts.
Off the charts.
Yeah.
Every actor, he had, as a director, he had not missed.
Yeah.
There was no way that, and again, if you go in and expecting a 4-star and it turns into be a 2.5, you're like, all right, well, that wasn't as good as I thought it would be. That was a bomb. That was a
you say to someone, so you've got Spielberg at the height of Spielberg's powers.
At the height of Spielberg.
You've got Robin Williams at the height of Robin Williams's power.
That's right.
You've got Dustin Hoffman, legend. You've got Julia Roberts playing Tinkerbell at where she's like the biggest star on the planet.
Biggest star on the planet.
And then you surround them then in a very Spielbergian way you start going like, okay, we're gonna get Bob Hoskins in there because Bob
Right.
Hoskins will give it some gravitas and whatever.
Yes.
We're gonna pull some Phil Collins in there because he's like he's got like a massive fan base and whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna throw Glenn Close in there. Just
Yeah.
have Glenn Close. We'll have Glenn Close in there. We'll
We're
have
gonna
Gwyneth
we're gonna
Paltrow in
we're
there.
basically gonna like create a we're gonna create a project. Oh, Maggie Smith is in that movie, by the way. We're basically gonna use the most famous and beloved story in the world with the best living director and
Yep.
like 5 of the biggest stars. And somehow at the end of the day, everyone walks out going, boy, that didn't work. I mean,
That didn't work at all. It was terrible. It was truly, truly terrible. But Gwyneth Paltrow was Wendy. That's how crazy that
was
movie
she
is.
really? I don't remember
Gwyneth
that.
Paltrow was Wendy in that
Really?
movie. Yeah.
You're kidding me.
No.
Oh my God. That doesn't seem possible. Are you sure?
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that Gwyneth
No,
Paltrow.
there she is. Gwyneth Paltrow, young Wendy. Yeah. God. You know what the opposite of Hook is for me?
What is that?
The Addams Family, a movie I love.
Yes.
The Addams Family kind of rules. It's Barry Sonnenfeld, and then the cast. They nailed the cast so perfectly. Angelica Houston is Morticia. Raul Julia is Gomez. Amazing.
Amazing.
Immediately amazing.
Yes.
Christopher Lloyd as Uncle Fester. Inspired choice.
Perfect.
Dan Hedaya is perfect in that. Christina Ricci as Wednesday in 1991. You can't do better than Christina Ricci. Like Christina Ricci was in 1991 had been put on this earth to play Wednesday Addams. Like I remember laughing so hard at that movie and loving it so. I think I saw it twice in the theater, which was a rarity for me back in those days. Fantastic.
Love that movie.
Haven't seen it since. Might be terrible. Haven't seen it since, but I loved it when it came out.
No, I don't think it's terrible. I love that movie. Let me talk about a couple of small comedies that came out that year. Smaller. I mean, they were not that small then. Boy, there were a lot of movies that came out that year.
Yeah.
One is I actually know your opinion about it because you've been hammered the question about it over and over again. Defending Your Life came out that year.
Yes.
And I know you're not a fan of that movie.
So
I liked it.
Defending Your Life is held up as like an all-timer. And
that I don't know about.
And if you I think that the idea is an all-timer of an idea. And I don't want to get too boring and didactic here, but if you actually watch the movie, I have 2 big problems with it. Number 1 is Meryl Streep is in it and is given literally nothing to do. Meryl Streep's job in that movie is to find Albert Brooks charming.
Yes.
Just like, boy, I feel like she's a perfect person. Everything she did is perfect. Yes. He goes out with her and basically does stand up while they're hanging out, and she just laughs uproariously at everything he says.
Yes.
But my bigger problem with the premise is he's put on trial and has to defend his life in purgatory, and the story is that he never took chances. He didn't take risks. That was he played everything safe. And so the denouement of the movie, spoiler alert,
with fear. Yeah.
For a 24-year-old movie, is that he gets out of, he's being driven basically back to start over, and he gets out of the like weird tram that he's in, and he runs across through traffic to like tell Meryl Streep that he loves her. And that somehow ends up being like the proof that he's no longer playing it safe and he's allowed to go up to heaven or whatever.
Right.
The problem is this. The way the movie starts is he's an arrogant jerk who goes to a Porsche lot and buys a Porsche. And then he drives down the street in his Porsche, listening to music and not really paying attention to the traffic.
That's right.
And gets into a car accident and dies. And it's like, well, that's not the story of how you die if you played it safe at all. That's the opposite. That story leads to you being put on trial for being shallow and thoughtless, not for being for being too cautious. He's literally, he dies by not being cautious, and then the whole movie is about him having to prove that he's not overly cautious. It doesn't make any sense. And it really bothers me because I feel like the premise of it was so wonderful that you go into this purgatory and you have a trial where you basically have to like defend your choices. It's wonderful. Obviously, I made The Good Place. Like, this is a subject I'm extremely interested in. And I just, when I watch that movie, I just don't see, it doesn't hold up. It just doesn't, there's no, the themes and the story don't line up in a way that is satisfying to me.
When I think about it, I did like it a lot when I saw it, and it still holds up for me. But what I think is, I think Albert Brooks is his own special kind of genius, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, he's as a comedian, he follows the jokes, right? The jokes are where like, there was no reason for him to die in a brand new Porsche listening to Barbara Streisand, right? Like, he followed that because he thought that was funny, and
Yeah.
that was the funny joke. So yeah, so everything that follows that makes no sense whatsoever for him in particular. But I think that that's just him following the jokes. I think you just have to kind of. I think the people, the lawyers in there are wonderful. Rip Torn is just
Great.
wonderful as a lawyer, and I mean, I think everybody in it is terrific. I think Meryl Streep is very, like, she's. I mean, it's such a weird character to play because she has no flaws,
Yeah.
and he tells one joke and she's hopelessly in love with him, like that, like none of that makes sense, but she's delightful in it. She's
Yes,
so
of course she is. She's
delightfully
Meryl Streep.
charming.
She's
She's
never
Meryl Streep,
she's never not been delightful. Like
right?
everything she's ever done, it's like, God, you can't take your eyes off her. She's probably the greatest actress who's ever lived.
Yes,
I just wish that
it
there
could have
were
been better.
a actual logical through line. I
Yeah.
also want to give a shout out in the 1991 movie releases to one of this should be a new. We should have been doing this all along. We should have been also inventing new Re-POScar categories to give
Oh,
awards
sure,
in.
sure. Yeah.
Best performance in like a not great movie.
Okay.
Val Kilmer in The Doors.
It's so funny you say that. I mean, obviously he just passed. He's incredible in The
He's
Doors.
unbelievable in that movie.
He's like incredible in a way. Here's the thing: I've been like, this has driven me crazy for the Oscars for years. Virtually every single person who plays a musician of fame gets nominated for an Oscar.
Yep.
Virtually everyone, right?
Ray Charles and Bob Dylan.
Ray Charles, he won for Ray Charles. He
Johnny
won
Cash
Johnny
and
Cash, Queen, right?
right.
Freddie Mercury just happened with Bob Dylan.
Mhm.
And I think they're mixed. I did not actually not like at all the performance of the Freddie Mercury. I actually thought it was out and out terrible. Not just not Oscar worthy, out and out not good at all. I thought he was like, how do you play Freddie Mercury with no charm?
No charisma.
No charisma. Exactly. So, but he won the Oscar, and he won the Oscar for Ray, and he was nominated. The others, I think that the single best performance in the history of American motion pictures, one actor, one musician, is Val Kilmer and Jim Morris.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And there was someone, I can't remember, I wish I could remember, who put this on Blue Sky the other day, but an actress was talking about the audition process for The Doors.
Yeah.
I think it was a woman who was not in The Doors, but she was there for the auditions, and there was all these people at some location. And apparently Val Kilmer like screeched up to the auditions in like a convertible, like parked like on the lawn of the house or whatever.
Yeah.
Got out wearing like full like leather pants and like full Jim Morrison getup. Just like walked inside, like just walked right through everybody who was waiting in line and stormed inside the house. And it was like, oh yeah, that guy's gonna get the job. And it is the Doors are hilariously overblown and self-important, and as a band I kind of can't stand them.
Oh,
and
they're terrible.
When I was like 13, I was listening to Break On Through being like, this is incredible. And then when you're like 22, you're like, oh, this kind of stinks, and this is very silly music. But he made me like the music of the Doors.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible performance. He utterly embodies the real guy. He's him.
Yeah.
The Doors, side note, also has one of the funniest. I haven't seen it again. It came out whenever it came out. I was in high school, and then
it came out in 1991. We know
it came out in 1991, and I was 16 or whatever. I think I watched it one more time 10 years later for some reason. It has one of, so I might be getting the details wrong, but it has an incredibly funny scene, which is they're like in wherever they are, Malibu or whatever, and they're writing he comes in, Jim Morrison comes in, he's written lyrics which you come to understand immediately will become Light My Fire.
Sure.
And he reads the lyrics out loud, like in poetry form. And the rest of the band is like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'm into that. And then Kyle MacLachlan, who plays Robbie Robertson, is like, you know what it would be cool if it's like we had like an organ intro, and let me work on it or whatever. And then in my memory, what happens is he sits down at the organ and he's sort of noodling around and he's like, boo doo 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 doo, and then he pauses and he's like, boo doo 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 doo, and then he pauses and he goes, boo doo 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 doo. Like it's like one or two false starts and then it instantly flows out of him exactly the way that it is in the song. And it's such a perfect like distillation of the way that the creative process has to be faked for movies, like, yeah. And then I don't know. How about something like this? And then perfectly plays exactly note for note what the intro to the song is.
That's
It's so funny.
That movie is truly terrible, and he's truly great in it.
Yeah.
It is really.
I don't even think it's a bad movie.
I think it's a bad movie.
It might be bad. I just think the subject matter is just like, boo, who cares?
Yeah.
Also, one more shout out I want to give is to the movie Hot Shots.
Part 2 or
no, this is the original. Hot Shots was I believe only Jim Abrams, not the Zucker brothers.
Yeah.
Doing a parody of like the Top Gun type movies. Charlie Sheen's in it, and it is very extraordinarily stupid in the best way.
Yeah.
Cary Elwes plays essentially Iceman's part, like essentially like the rival to Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
And is wonderful and so funny.
He's good. He's so good.
He's so good in it. Lloyd Bridges is also in it, who had been in Airplane, and is wonderful. It's got a bunch of very funny people in it. The movie is not great, but it is. There's one of the scenes is one of the planes is taking off from the aircraft carrier, and it cuts to the wheels of the thing, and a dog is running alongside the airplane, like chasing it like it's a car. And there's 10,000 of those jokes. There's also a thing where he's walking on the beach with the woman that he's interested in, and he kind of like is like moody, and he's like remembering something, and he picks up a rock and he skips it through the water off the shore, and you see it skipping along, and then you see a guy in a kayak, and the rock hits the kayak, and the guy tips over, and it's just like it's a really stupid movie that's probably 80 minutes long, and it has 7,000 jokes in it.
Yeah, it's 7,000 jokes. But they used to make movies like that.
Yeah,
they just had all these jokes. It was very funny.
Yeah,
that's funny. I'll mention 2 movies real quick, and I haven't seen either of these movies in a very long time, but I remember at the time thinking that they were like not bad. And the first one is Only the Lonely. Do you remember Only the Lonely with John Candy?
I do not.
It's the name is truly right. He's like a lonely cop, maybe. I can't remember what it is, but it was as I remember it, legitimately heartwarming, and like John Candy was legitimately wonderful in it. Now, again, I haven't seen it in years. Maybe I'm confusing it even with another movie, but I'm pretty sure that Only the Lonely was with John Candy. I think Catherine O'Hara's in it, and I remember walking out of the theater feeling like that was like sweet. That was a really sweet movie.
All right.
The other one is Other People's Money. Have you seen Other People's Money? It's a Danny DeVito movie. In fact, I think he directed it. And the movie is, as a whole, it's a mess, right? It's somehow we're supposed to have a buy-in to a love thing between Danny DeVito and somebody who I can't remember who it was, but somebody who definitely should not have been in that space. But sorry, I fell off there.
Oh.
But here was the thing I would say about it. It's about the idea of the movie is that he is a like businessman who like basically tears down companies. That's his whole thing.
Okay.
He goes in and buys up a bunch of stock, and then he destroys company. He liquidates companies.
Sure.
And he ends up kind of going to this like this small company in up in New England somewhere, and he goes in to liquidate it. I was actually looking up who is the woman. But yeah, Penelope. It was a young Penelope Ann Miller.
Penelope Ann Miller, sure.
Yeah. That.
That sounds right.
I was going to say Danny DeVito and Penelope Ann Miller. That didn't really make sense to me. But and also Gregory Peck's in it. So Gregory Peck is the owner and founder of this company, and basically he's trying to save his company, and Danny DeVito is trying to liquidate it and make all the money off.
Sure.
Essentially. And at one point there ends up being they bring all of the stockholders together, and they have they sort of have a vote on whether or not to keep the company alive or to kill the company. And Gregory Peck makes this impassioned Gregory Peck-like speech to why they should keep the company alive, and it's very, very sort of sweet and optimistic about life. And then Danny DeVito follows him, and everybody starts booing Danny DeVito. And then Danny DeVito basically tells them, "This guy is losing you money." Essentially, like you could talk about all you want about how the company's going to come back or whatever, but it's never coming back. And all of you people invested, and you didn't invest because you have any heart for this company. You invested to make money, and you're not making money, and you're never going to make money. And they vote with Danny DeVito. And I remember just at the time thinking that there was something really and truly sort of inspired by that whole scene. Like it's like Wall Street, but like condensed into this very sweet small category. It's really good. I remember that scene being all-time great.
All right.
That's what I remember. So
I mean, Gregory Peck and Danny DeVito sounds like a good.
Yeah, and they're both great in it. And Penelope Ann Miller's great in it as well. Penelope Ann Miller, we should mention again, since you mentioned last week, last time we did this, The Freshman. Penelope Ann Miller is the love interest in The Freshman as well.
That's right.
So kind of a fun little career for
like. Should we give Penelope Ann Miller a pause?
Honorary
a Re-POScar Lifetime Achievement Award?
I'm willing to give, by the way, Gregory Peck and Danny DeVito and Penelope Ann Miller Re-POScar nominations for this.
Great.
I think that,
Let's do it.
So yeah, Penelope Ann Miller, congratulations. You are honored for us. All right, there we go. We've done another Re-POScar. It's really great.
We're really righting some of the wrongs that were committed.
It is. Hollywood should thank us, frankly.
Yeah.
I think at this point, Hollywood should give us. Look, if we're not going to get a baseball card from
the Allen and Ginter folks,
for these Allen and Ginter people, maybe Hollywood can honor us.
Maybe we'll get an actual Oscar for our work on the Re-POScars.
we should get a Re-POScar. We should definitely get one. All right, time for one last meaningless thing to end this meaningless thing, and I'll start. So I'm driving the other day, and a car in front of me does the craziest U-turn. So I'm in the left lane, they're in the right lane, and we're not going very fast, but they're next to me. And then at the light, they literally U-turn in front of me, in front of my car. They just kind of edge in front of my car and make a full U-turn in front of my car.
Great.
One of the worst car moves I've seen. And of course, my initial reaction is the rage that you feel when somebody does something like that to you. However, as they were turning and cutting in front of me, it was a woman, and she kind of gave me a little sheepish look and a wave. Gave me the little wave.
Sorry.
Kind of sorry. Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. Sheepish look. And I was completely and utterly fine. Literally all of my rage. I just think a wave in the car when you let somebody in, or they kind of gave my bad kind of thing. I think that solves all problems for driving. I mean, if you feel like it's real, like if it, and I don't know that it really was real in this case, but it felt real. It really felt like she was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe I just got in front of that guy. Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And it was that look, and I'm like, "Hey, okay, listen, we've all been there." I just think society would be so much better place if people would just give sheepish looks and waves
I
after they.
couldn't agree more. It takes very little to lower the temperature that
Yes,
you have raised by your actions. Yeah.
yes, yes. So there you go.
Totally agree. My one last meaningless thing is about the is about Tyler Kepner,
Oh,
senior
sure.
baseball writer for The Athletic.
Yes,
I don't know Tyler Kepner.
I do. I know him well.
Okay. So Tyler Kepner, unlike most of the rest of us, continues to play Immaculate Grid every day. And he
Yeah,
posts his results on Blue Sky, I think
every day,
every day.
pretty much every day. Yeah.
And pretty much every day, his rarity score is like 0 or 1.
Yes, that's right.
And so I just want to read to you today. He posted his grid today. So for Boston and San Diego, he chose Wes Gardner, a player I remember.
Sure.
For Boston and Toronto, he chose Dave Hollins, a player I remember.
Yes.
For Boston, played third base minimum one game, Eddie Urak, a player I certainly remember.
Sure.
Tampa Bay, San Diego is Dave Island. Tampa Bay, Toronto is Steve Traxel. Tampa
Yep.
Bay played third base, Nick Green.
Okay.
Phillies and San Diego, Tim Mauser. Phillies and Toronto, Dick Davis. Phillies played third base, Jeff Manto. Now, I remember all 9 of these guys.
Yes.
I would never in a billion years have been able to recall them and insert them into the appropriate slots in Immaculate Grid number 747.
Yes.
I had a million Ed Urak Red Sox cards in the old day. But like the idea that I could recall Ed Urak's name, know that he played third base at least once for the Red Sox, and get a 0.1% answer on Immaculate Grid is beyond. And also, how did you remember that Steve Traxel played both for the Rays and the Blue Jays? I mean, if you asked me, hey, did Steve Traxel play for the Rays and the Blue Jays? I think I would go, I mean, I think he did, probably. But I would
I don't
not
even
have.
know if I did that. I'd be like, sure.
I would
Maybe.
not have had the courage to make that bet while playing Immaculate Grid. And could I have remembered that Jeff Manto played third base at least once for the Phillies? No. The answer is
No.
no.
No. No
And
way.
it's a combination of like awe and also what the hell, man? Like how, like Tyler Kepner is making the rest of us people who care about stupid baseball players from the 80s and 90s look bad. Is what I'm saying. He's making us all look bad. And if you go back in his Blue Sky account, you will find an Immaculate Grid from literally every day. He does it every single day. And every single day he makes me personally feel bad for not remembering that Jeff Manto played third for the Phillies.
Dude, now, so the question is this, do you feel the way like I'm just watching greatness and like you sort of appreciate that you were watching greatness? Or do you feel more like Salieri watching Mozart?
It's Salieri, without question. It's Salieri. Yes, it's Salieri watching Mozart compose a symphony or a piano concerto in real time and being like, "Well, I'll never get there. Like, I could spend the rest of my life doing nothing but looking through Baseball Reference, and I would never be able to call up Dave Island."
Tyler's in his own league, man.
I guess I want to sell it. Really, what this is, I celebrate you, Tyler Kepner. I celebrate you.
Of course.
Yeah.
It is truly. Here's the thing: there are only, much like Salieri, there are only certain people who can fully, in time, appreciate the genius that is Tyler Kepner. Everybody else would look at him as a lunatic,
right?
Basically.
So you're saying that in some ways I'm more impressive than Tyler Kepner.
I'll ask Tyler what he thinks about that. But yeah, no, I think I mean, look, the guy he's just good at it. He's just good. He just, and I don't know. Here's the question: how much time does he spend on this?
I don't know. We should ask him. If you're friends with him, you should ask him.
We should bring him on the podcast to explain his thing. Yeah. Well, all right. We'll get Tyler Kepner to come on the podcast, explain himself for his thing.
Yeah.
Because like if he's doing these in like 2 minutes, then like he should obviously be a mastermind criminal, right? Like at this point, like he is the guy that could come up with the anagram that will
There,
help Jodie Foster.
Jamie
Yeah.
Friend or whatever. Yeah. No, we should ask him that, but also I think it would be appropriate, because I think for the segment One Last Meaningless Thing, I think Immaculate Grid is the ultimate meaningless thing, right?
It is the ultimate
It is
meaningless thing, yeah.
it's truly by definition a celebration of meaninglessness. And so
That's right.
maybe what we should do is have him on and
Yes.
dedicate the entire episode to the segment
To
One Last
meaningless
Meaningless Thing and just talk about Immaculate Grid.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think people would love that. Yeah, like they love the rest of what we do. So anyway, well, that's it. So we made it through another one. Mike, as always, thank you.
Thanks for having me.